welcome to the Sedona International Film Festival. This is our silver anniversary. We're coming to you live from the Sedona Rouge Hotel, who is one of our sponsors, along with Black Magic Design and Digitech. And I would like to introduce you to Nova and to Velcrow and their film Metamorphosis. And first, before I even begin to talk about the film, okay, so your name is so interesting. And tell me a little bit, where did your name come from? Velcrow and...
Velcrow Ripper, actually.
Yes, I love it.
I got it when I was 19. It was given to me, and I was a punk rocker, and someone actually put the two things together, the Velcrow and my real last name, Ripper, and it stuck.
It stuck.
And actually, my nickname is Crow. There's a W at the end.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And your name's unusual, too. So you have Nova.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, welcome to the film festival. I know this is your first time. And Velcrow, you've been here before.
Yeah, with Scared Sacred back in 2005.
Amazing. So welcome back.
Thanks.
And tell us a little bit about your film.
Well, Metamorphosis, it's a feature documentary, and it's looking at the topic of change in a time of climate crisis and how humanity is dealing with change right now in this crisis that we've created. It's looking at the emotional and psychological aspects of climate change, and we also incorporate the work of artists who deal with ecological themes. And it's also very solution-oriented. So we incorporate innovative projects that can spark our imagination as to what's possible.
And what was probably one of the biggest surprises or elements that came out of this film for you?
I think one of the biggest surprises, I don't know if it was a surprise necessarily, but I guess I was just really inspired by some of the really incredible work that people are doing out there and some of the projects that they're working on. For example, Garden Pool, who is working here just outside of Phoenix, they transform swimming pools into their own ecosystems. And all the elements are very symbiotic with each other. And they're actually going to be at our screening here at the festival. They're going to be our guests.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So that part was shot in Phoenix,
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Very cool. And so what other ecosystems or things that you're looking at that came through in the film?
Sure. Well, actually, I was going to say one of my favorite moments in the film is we weave through the migration of the monarch butterflies, and it's a metaphor in the film of metamorphosis and transformation, and also the monarchs are affected by climate change. So they're woven through, and just going into the monarch preserve in Mexico was absolutely awe-inspiring and mind-blowing. And we actually shot this film brought along with us our baby who was born just at the beginning of the process, and he was probably a year old when we went to the monarch preserve, and I just remember seeing Nova holding him, and they were both covered in butterflies, and he was asleep, and he just slowly opened his eyes, and when a butterfly landed on his nose, and just that look of wonder was just so special and priceless.
Did you capture a photo of that?
Oh, we filmed it actually. It's a beautiful shot. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and we have a lot of behind-the-scenes footage that we've created these short web videos that are on our website, and that's part of it as well. Yeah, it's included in there.
Now, this isn't your first go-round with doing documentaries. So what is it that you like about doing these types of films?
About doing documentaries? Well, I find, working with real people and stories and the human condition and the state of the world and, what's happening right now, I find that it's really alive for me in terms of the work that I'm doing. I love learning and sharing my knowledge and getting a message out that I think is really important for us to hear about, that we might not be able to hear from in terms of mainstream media or anything like that. So I find that it's more like a mission or a calling for me. Yeah.
And I'd say for me, I started out in experimental film, and so when I started making documentaries, I merged my experimental background with documentary and kind of broke a lot of the documentary rules and did things that you wouldn't see normally in documentaries. And I consider myself kind of like a cinematic activist, so I put together my love of cinema and art and this desire to be of service to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and with Metamorphosis and working together on this project, we really wanted to create something that was very cinematic And we really set the bar high for how we filmed it. And we also wanted to break some of the conventions of documentary. For example, we don't have talking heads in our film. We see the people who we interview and then we hear their voices over other images, but we don't see them actually talking. And so we really wanted to add to the conversation about climate change with this film and do something a little bit different.
Has your film made any differences as far as, I mean, I know you've been to different film festivals and that kind of thing, so has it been taken notice where people are trying to incorporate anything or messages that you've delivered through this?
Yeah, we've time and time again we've heard people say it's a transformative experience seeing the film, and people are really looking at how can they get involved and how can they get engaged. And we actually developed a workshop that goes with the film, and that allows people to go even deeper, and that's been quite moving. And we found that youth are really responding to the film too. And another thing about the film is it's not judgmental and it's not preachy, so it doesn't shut people down. So we're finding it's cutting across a lot of boundaries where people might not respond to the environmental message in the same way, and we really love that. So it's playing in a lot of audiences that might not otherwise be reached. And I think the fact that it's very artistic and cinematic and inspirational, it's like a climate change date movie in a way. You don't see those very often.
Yeah, and we really wanted to offer it more as an invitation as opposed to a confrontation. And we are finding that audiences really appreciate that because they don't feel like they're being judged or there's a finger pointing at them. And we also wanted to create a kind of meditative state with the film. And so the pace of it is maybe a bit slower than we're used to experiencing in a documentary or film, and so we just when we introduce the film, for example, we let people know that and just ask them to just surrender to that, because that's one of the messages that we communicate in the film, is that slowing down is something that could really benefit us as a society.
In doing documentaries, and we've briefly talked a little bit about documentaries when you first sat down, there's always a process that you go through. There's always a message that you wanted to deliver, and then just 9 times out of 10, there's always some kind of surprise element that happens within that you weren't really counting on. So in doing this particular film, were there any of those moments that you've experienced that you weren't really counting on when you were doing this?
Well, I think one thing that's really happened is that even in the last 6 months, the climate crisis has just really become very prominent and risen to because it used to, when we started the film 4 years ago, it takes a while to make a feature documentary, the climate crisis seemed far away and something in the future, and now it's coming close to home. Everywhere we go, we're seeing extreme weather events that people had not, the most extreme weather they've experienced ever. And it's just, and the wildfires in our neck of the woods are just closing in on us in the summertime. And so it feels like the film is just more relevant than ever and really important. And also it gives us it addresses the psychological and emotional impacts of the climate crisis. It looks at denial, psychic numbing, and also this idea of relating our grief to praise and beauty and love, and transforming that grief into a service and action, and recognizing, and we always keep beauty very close in the film. We want you to fall in love with the planet.
That's awesome. And one thing that you just mentioned too, you were talking about, and I was just talking to another filmmaker about this too, just right before you got here, just about the, how younger people today now are really interested in, having a voice, if you will. And even with documentaries, prior to all this, we really hadn't seen a whole lot. Documentaries were there, but it just seems that they're more evident today than they were in the past. Do you find that at all?
Yeah, I'm hearing it's the golden age of documentaries right now. We really get that sense that they're doing big box office numbers actually, and people want to see them. I think there's a bit of distrust now with certain mainstream media outlets, and documentaries allow you to go deeper, and they're especially long-form documentaries. The world is so complex, and we need to try to understand that documentaries really help with that. And they're also very entertaining.
No, they're really informative, very, very informative. So how can people learn more about your particular film?
Well, they can go to our website, which is metamorphosis.media. And we also have a Facebook page. It's under Metamorphosis Journey, so people can find us on that. And we also have Twitter and Instagram. So there's different ways of finding us online.
And then your film here at the film festival.
Yes.
When is it being shown?
It's playing tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. and on Thursday morning at 10 a.m.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much for being with us in Sedona. It's good to have you back again.
Thanks for
And
having
I'm
us.
enjoying it. I'm really looking forward to seeing your film.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival right after this.